We've now gone through the process of accepting multiple payments and then doing a second step process of making a deposit. But you can do it a little bit easier, depending on how your business works and what you usually want to do. In order to make this a little bit different, I need to go up to my Preferences. From the Edit menu to Preferences, and I want to make sure I have Sales and Customers selected and the Company Preferences tab. There's a lot of information here up on the top, but I'm actually concerned about the 3 checkboxes at the bottom in the Receive Payments category. There are 3 different checkboxes. The first one that says Automatically Apply Payments, the second one that says Automatically Calculate Payments, and the third that says Use Undeposited Funds as a Default Deposit to Account. Well, the first 2 obviously have to do with when we are accepting payments. When I open up a payment window, it automatically applies the payments to the invoices that are outstanding in the order that they were, the oldest one first. That's basically what all of these are for. And it also has to do with the calculations that are happening automatically. Those are all good. But I'm going to remove the last checkbox. We have this account in our chart of accounts called Undeposited Funds. And with that checked, everything goes into that until we physically make a deposit. By removing this checkbox, we're going to see that we have different options when we actually take the payments and make the deposits themselves. So I will remove the checkbox and say OK. QuickBooks tells me that it has to go ahead and close everything, which is fine. And I'll just move back over to the Home button to get us back to a screen that we're used to seeing and maximize the window. Now let's do something that we said is kind of quick and dirty, as the saying goes. I'm going to create a cash sale. Click on Create a Sales Receipt. Select one of my customers that came in, Sharon Marsh. She purchased an item, an Office 2007 CD. She purchased one of those. And she paid me with a check. And I put in the check number for our records. So far so good, nice and easy. What I can do now is click Save and Close. So far this is the same as we've seen before. Now I'll go up to the Customers window and I'll choose Receive Payments. And if I choose our customer from the drop down, there's Sharon, you'll see that there are no unpaid invoices. Now this actually happens all the time with a cash sale because we're assuming that a cash sale is just that. It wasn't an invoice where we gave services or products first and received payments at a different time. So you need to be aware that not all of the monies you collect will actually appear in the customer payment window. This is a perfect example of that where we already have the money and QuickBooks knows we do because we created a cash receipt. So I'll close out of here. I'm not going to record it. I'll go to the bank and I'll choose Make Deposit. This is where we get to see the receipt for Sharon's money. I'll go ahead and select that I want to pay it. Say OK. And we're back to our deposit window where we can say where we want to deposit it to. So in some cases, when you're making a lot of sales and maybe only one sale in a day or maybe cash sales, remember that you're not always going to need to go through the intermediate step, which is to actually say that you received a payment. QuickBooks knows that you made the sale and received the payment in one step. Let me go ahead and save and close, get out of this window, and give you one more example of how we can make this an easier process. Remember just a few minutes ago when we went up to our preferences and we said do not use the undeposited funds account? Recall what happens normally or by default in that process. We receive a payment and the payment goes into undeposited funds until we tell it how to make the deposit. Well, by unchecking that, we're telling QuickBooks that we don't want to use the undeposited funds by default. We want to be given a choice. So let me go up to Customers and let me receive another payment. And this will be a payment from our good old friends at Brookfield Mechanical. And they're going to pay us $500 by check and all of the rest of that. Now I'm not going to fill it out just because you've already seen this and I want to get to the important part. The important part is next to the memo, we now see a field that wasn't available before. When you have it turned on in preferences that everything should be grouped together and put in undeposited funds, this is not available. Everything just goes to undeposited funds. Then you need to go make the deposit. If I have just this one payment from Brookfield, it's the only payment I'm going to get today and I want to make it, or maybe I'm making their payment to a savings account instead of a checking account, having that deselected is a benefit because it saves me a step. Right here, while I'm receiving the payment, I can also choose which account to put that into, and then continue to process it the same way. I'll move down to the bottom, do save and close. And if I go back to banking, make deposits, you'll see that there aren't any deposits available because we already put that deposit directly from the Enter Payments window into an account at the same time. So these are just a couple of things that will make your job a little bit faster. It's always easier if you don't have to do all of the steps every time if you can help it. I'll go ahead and clear this and close it out and get us back to our home screen.